You're listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive mental attitude.
Good morning, young man.
Good morning. Good morning to you. And I haven't been called a young man for years.
No, I'm not surprised. You're not a bit now, 60, 63, is it?
63, yeah. Soon to be 64 in November.
64.
So, how are you anyway?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, it's lovely weather, isn't it?
Yeah. You've been for your bloods this morning, haven't you?
It's something I need to have done. And, the sooner I get them done and hopefully get the scan after the third one and say it's clearing up.
So you've got to have 2 more, have you?
Yes. So I go tomorrow for my next lot, and then I go in 3 weeks' time. Then I have a scan, and then hopefully it will show that it's cleared up a bit. So, all gone.
Is it just 3 doses of this you've got to have?
No, got double that. I have 3, and then they scan you to see how it's going on, and then I have 3 more lots, and it ends, believe it or not, on New Year's Eve.
Oh,
so
right.
That's my So whether I go in on New Year's Eve, I don't know whether they work then. I should think they would. And then I'll have a scan just after that, so that'll be the 6th session. And I know my scan's going to say it's going to be clear.
Good. New Year's resolution?
Yes, new year, new start. So that'd be fantastic for me.
It was a shame that we had to put off Harry Hill.
I know.
This last week. We were due to meet him and interview him for the podcast, but he's agreed, good old boy, to do it in the new year. So that will be something to look forward to.
Yeah, well, I found out because I had to go for an appointment with my oncologist last week, and I told him that after 5-6 days, I started to feel a little bit sort of, not rough, but I couldn't do anything, and I just slept and slept and slept. And apparently, it's the antibiotics after 4 days wearing off, and that's why I was, not so good those few days when we was meant to go and meet Harry Hill. So, but we'll do it.
What were you on the antibiotics for then?
They give these to you after you have the chemotherapy.
Oh, right.
And they give you loads of tablets. This morning, I had to start 2 tablets that you have to have for 5 days, so 4 days after, and you have to have it at 9 o'clock in the morning before you have your chemo on the next day. So,
right.
Yeah, it's another thing. It's a thing to build you up for it. That's what it is. And they're the ones that keep you awake. And accidentally the other day, Lenny misread the tablets, and it said take for 5 days. Well, she thought it was for 5 days before. So that was the day I went to see the oncologist. So we took 2 and went to see him, and he said, no. He said, you take it the day before. And I showed him the packet because the packet wasn't clearly written on there when you did take it. So we took it to make sure we had it done, checked with him. And I said, well, is it okay that I've had these tablets at the wrong day? So he said, yeah, you just probably be really high as anything and won't be able to sleep tonight. And he was right. I tell you what, I think it was about 3:30 in the morning. I was still looking at the clock. So it just shows you these tablets do keep you wide awake. And that's why when we went away in Betsy, I was fine. We went around Kersey and Lavenham and blah, blah, blah. We didn't get to Lavenham in the end because we was going to meet you. But we went to Boxford, that's right. And it's because I was on the antibiotics and keeping me wide awake.
You'll have to take them more often.
I know.
Especially when you're watching an Arsenal game.
Yeah, that's right.
And help you keep you awake.
Yeah. Did you hear that? I've just had a message from the hospital, funny enough.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've got an appointment with the endocrinology unit, which will talk about some of the tablets I'm taking in the morning. I take 3 now. And what they're doing, they do all my cholesterol and everything. So now I've had my blood tests today. Hopefully they might reduce them because originally I was on 5 and then it went down to 4. So you never know. Might be from 3 to 2 next on when I go for my appointment.
What was the name of that department?
Endocrinology.
That sounds like something criminal.
Good job you didn't have to say it. What department is it, Pat?
And you had another major event over the weekend, didn't you? While coming home.
Well, coming home from Basildon, I got a burst tyre. Yeah, and so I called the RAC, which I have to do with the car that I've got, and they said to me, because I told them I'd got cancer. We'll make you priority. And this was 1:15 in the morning,
Right.
and finally got home at 6:45 the next day. So
You lead an exciting life, don't you?
it always seems to happen to me, all these things.
What did you do for 4 hours sitting in the car then?
What did I do?
Yeah.
Well, because I had my engine on, I had my lead for my phone, so I was charging my phone up. So I was on Facebook all the time, and it turned out that it was my mum's birthday, so I was able to write a nice message on Facebook about my mum and all that to celebrate her birthday, because obviously she's no longer with us, and just looking up photographs. And
As it was your mum's birthday, you didn't smell cigarettes, did you?
I didn't actually know.
Oh.
Do you know what? I didn't think of that. I should have. I should have. Trouble was, Pat, I was so tired during the day. I kept sleeping, and I only woke up to watch a recording of our favourite Saturday night show that we missed. So,
Yeah.
which is Celebrity Dance. You know, the dancing program. Strictly. That's right. Strictly. Yeah.
Statins are kicking in again.
Yeah, the memory. Yeah, I only watched it yesterday afternoon as well.
You've got an interesting subject you want to talk about today, haven't you?
I have, yeah, because my son-in-law has tried to put me on to getting one of these watches that, tells you your health and all that, and gives you your blood pressure and all things like that. And I don't
Fitness
know.
trackers.
Yeah, that's right, a fitness tracker. And I don't know if it's because I'm older, but I'm a bit more skeptical about these things, and I don't think, they would probably work, and some people probably use them all the time, but I don't know. I just really don't know. So.
After your research, do you know? That's the thing.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, I've read up a lot about it, and wearing these devices, they count the calories and the steps and the heart rate, and they're now an important part of how everybody looks after their health. But should we use them? Whether they're actually they're specifically worn on the wrist, and the apps are built into the smart watch, which I never knew about these things until I was refereeing one day. And my friend said he'd got one of these watches. And anyway, it showed every single point of the football pitch where he ran.
Right.
And then there was a picture of the football pitch on his phone. And then at the side, there was a long line going to the right-hand side. And I said, I can see where you've run up and down a pitch. I said, but what's that white line, that long line there? He said, oh, I went for a wee at half time. So it picked everything up on it.
I should have switched it off at that point.
Yeah, done two halves.
Well, you had better get one of those because your spot will be in the middle of the pitch all the time if you're strapped around there.
I don't think I can start refereeing again yet, unfortunately. But they are becoming increasingly popular, and so that's why I thought I'd have a look at these technologies. And there's obviously some questions around them. So,
Okay, Mark. So, what is a fitness tracker monitor?
well, it's also known as a wearable. So fitness trackers can monitor a variety of healths, such as heart rate, oxygen levels as well, steps, which everybody knows about. I mean, most people have got them on their phone anyway, and sleep. So I never knew that they'd done it about sleep. And these days, most can be connected to apps. So you track your progress and your trends. And some devices also do your blood pressure monitoring and single lead ECGs. So a typical sort of type of electrocardiogram with one electric sensor. So it can read your heart rhythms and rates, but these are not reliable as proper medical tests. That's what you must remember.
Yeah. I can't imagine that. Blood pressure. Does it do blood pressure?
Yeah. It says, blood pressure.
How does it do blood pressure? Because I have my blood pressure tested regularly, and they do it through the old arm through the loop thing.
Yeah.
On your arm, and then they pump it up. And I can't imagine that a watch can accurately measure blood pressure.
You've got a pulse in your wrist, so I suppose it picks up on that. Because if it's worn, on the wrist, obviously, it's a watch, isn't it? So
you mentioned counting calories.
Yeah.
Making us only counting the calories that you burn, not the calories that you eat.
Yeah. Well, it says it counts steps as well.
Because what you could do is you could put the watch on, check your calories, have a donut, and then check your calories again. I wouldn't tell you what calories were in a donut.
We're back to donuts.
Oh no, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah,
I can't physically.
Other cakes are available, Pat.
It can't physically count the calories in a donut, can it?
Well, this is where this is where I'm a bit
It can't,
suspicious of it all,
Martin.
because although I'm telling you all about it, is I'm still not sure how reliable it really is. And hence, talking about it. So some people might get on our page and write down that they're fantastic. Other people might think they're a load of rubbish, but I'm not going to name any names of makes or things like that because there's obviously some that would be better than others. But going back to the steps, what happens is on my phone it records my steps that I do, and it gives a
Yeah.
little fitness thing on one of the bits of the phone. But Linny's also got one on her phone. But the funny thing is, when I look at my steps, she always says to me, Weavers, she said, tell me how many steps you've done. So however many steps I've done, I tell her. She looks on her phone and we've been to exactly the same place all day long, and hers are always less.
Yeah, but does she do bigger strides?
Well, she does smaller strides because she's, smaller than me. So I'd expect her steps to be more.
Well, shall I tell you what to do next time?
Swap
Swap
phones.
phones. Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah,
Swap
that's a good
phones
idea.
and see what happens.
Yeah.
So we've touched on the benefits of trackers.
Well, no, I can tell you a bit more about that
Oh, go
because
on then.
they're useful for tracking physical activity and helping people to get more active as well. And many people don't realise how little movement they actually do. So they're typically doing in a day what you need to do to get started using a fitness tracker. They can also help, set up and achieve fitness goals and keep motivating high and make it easier and fun as well. That's the thing. You've got to make these things fun, otherwise they get sort of regimented and you don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When I did my cycling, there's an app called Strava, and it's
mhm.
where cyclists log in and that tracks their ride and tell them, how far they've gone in what time and how much elevation they've encountered, etc., etc., etc. And you
Mhm.
find out that, I had Simon, my son, and Martin on the same app, and they do exactly the same. And you can also compete against each other. If one of you go out one day and do 15 miles in, say, I don't know, an hour, can go out the same day and do 15 miles and try and beat the hour.
Oh, okay.
That registers what you've done.
Yeah.
You can also put it in the back of your truck and drive that 15 miles and do it in 10 minutes.
So it shows what's getting done. It's getting tracked to your phone from a satellite, probably,
Well, it
rather
is.
than the actual physical bike, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
You also find a lot of the people that have these are friends with the other people on the apps, and they're competing against each other, which is good.
Yeah,
That pushes them a bit further, I suppose.
yeah. It's a
Um,
shame my condition and all that because we've got a bike and I'd love to start biking again, but as I say, I'd get too out of puff. So I unfortunately won't have to do that one for a while. But because last Christmas, until I got really really bad, I'd put a cycle helmet on my Christmas list. So yeah, I know I could buy one, but I thought
did
I'll get
you
one.
did you get one?
No, I didn't get one.
That's a good job then, really, isn't it?
It is really, yeah.
Is that
It's,
be on eBay now?
yeah,
Uh,
I know.
so how accurate are these things? Do you know?
Well, accuracy differs depending on which, kind of watch you get. But you get monitored all the time and the device is being used and it tells you what activity you're doing. So, for example, a step count has generally been found to be the most accurate, as I mentioned earlier. Numbers such as heart rates and varying depends on the tracker. So being used as the identity of an activity, that's one thing. But one review that looked at the evidence found that the higher the intensity of the exercise, the less accurate the heart rate reading was. So you shouldn't pay too much the attention of a one-off reading from a tracker. It's the overall trends that are most important. For example, if you need a heart rate reading that is lower or higher than usual, because if some people do know their, rates, it's likely that nothing is to worry about. But if you notice unusual readings regularly and you see the numbers trending up and down in an unusual way, let your doctor know. That's most important.
Right. I know Wendy uses her phone to count her steps, and she always tries to get in a minimum of 10,000 a day.
But that's what I said. The most accurate thing is the steps, it
It's the
seems.
steps. Yeah.
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 And also steps is not a medical condition, is it? Whereas if you're looking at your heart rate or something like that, heart rate is a medical condition.
Well, I do realise that steps are not a medical condition because obviously if they were, then everybody in the world would have a problem, wouldn't they?
Well, that's right. I thought steps was a pop group.
Can they detect problems, like a heart problem, for argument's sake?
Well, they're useful when it comes to looking after our health, but it's important to remember they're not medical devices and they can't replace medical tests and are not designed to give a diagnosis. So they're primarily intended to help monitor fitness, really. So, however, they can be helpful monitoring the health. So if you start to see numbers and trends that worry you, once again, let your doctor or your nurse know and they can look into it. So
You like that word, don't you? Medical device.
yeah, yeah.
You use that quite a lot. I don't know why.
I
So,
know.
so they can't detect a heart attack, for argument's sake.
Your heart rate would be shown there, and if it's different to what it should be, I mean, I don't know what my heart rate is. I don't know if you know what yours is, but I certainly don't know mine. So if I had one, I wouldn't know if it was up or down, really.
Well, given that I've had heart attacks and heart disease, I know that mine sort of frequents around 47 beats per minute, which is quite low, but it's always been low.
Yeah.
Low heart rate is associated with athletes. You know, people who are physically fit have low heart rates. And I often got asked the question, "Are you an athlete?" I said, "No, no."
And then they took one look at you and thought, no, no.
So yeah, so I do know my heart rate. So I suppose you're either high or low. But
Well, mine is low, Pat, because when I used to have to go for the ECGs when I first got the cancer, a similar thing was said to me because mine was below 50, which is once again in the region of being an athlete and things like that.
47 is below 50 as well.
Yeah, that's
where
right.
mine is.
Yeah, so we're probably around the same. Something else we've got in common, mate.
I can understand these measuring your pulse because obviously you have a pulse in your wrist. It's one of the places that's tested. So, but the strange thing is they put the thumb on the inside of the wrist to test your pulse, whereas the watch actually sits on the outside of the wrist.
True.
So it's obviously managing to read the pulse from the other side. What's the downside to these things then, do you reckon?
I think one of the biggest pitfalls of fitness trackers is they can increase health anxiety because you read them and you think, oh God, it can be easy to become fixated on the numbers, and the increased anxiety can simply raise your heart rate, which isn't good. So it can also give a negative effect on your lifestyle choices, and it leads you to eat unhealthy foods and perhaps smoke or drink alcohol. This it can increase your risk of heart and circulatory.
Did you say increase the risk of you eating unhealthy foods?
I don't know. Did I say that? I forget what I say sometimes.
Anxiety leads you to eating unhealthy foods and smoking.
I know. And it also has a big impact on your sleep and your overall quality of life. So, and some people wearing a fitness tracker could be harmful to their well-being. If this is the case, it may be better to get your numbers checked at your GP or your pharmacy. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I think we're checking ourselves a bit too much. I think we should check ourselves regularly, but daily, hourly, minutes by the minute.
Too clever for our own good, really, with all this technology.
The trouble is, a lot of people don't know how to read the information as well.
Yeah.
So they see a massive change or something, and as you say, produces anxiety. So what about implantable devices? What are they all about?
Well, that's what I was going to say, because some smartwatches are fitted with trackers that may have the potential to interact with implantable devices, such as pacemakers and ICDs. So if you have any concerns about your fitness tracker affecting your implantable device, speak with your clinic for guidance. That's always the best thing, because some people will read it and they won't know what the heck it really means. So you get the advice from the experts, as we always say.
Martin, what's an ICD?
An implantable cardiac overter defibrillator is an ICD. It's a small device that monitors and treats abnormal heart at any time. So there you go.
Did Google come into play there?
Who?
Google.
Never heard of it. Some of these results can be affected by the position and where you wear it and your movement. They can also detect harmless heartbeats, all of which can affect the quality of your ECG reading. So a single lead ECG, if that's what these watches are not as accurate or detailed as the 12 lead one, which you've probably had loads of, and I have as well. So the type that your doctor would monitor you with. However, if you see the readings are out of the ordinary, what do? You get in touch with your doctor or your nurse. So this is telling me something, right? That you might just as well get in contact with your doctor or your nurse in the first place and not buy one of these watches, because this is what my topic was about. are they worth buying?
How do you choose the best one? That's the thing, because there's loads on the market, aren't there?
Oh, God, there's so many of these fitness trackers on the market. Well, it's hard to know which is the best for your needs. Some questions you got to ask yourself before buying could include, what do you want to track and why? Will monitoring be helpful or will it cause you to worry more? And how much do you want to spend? And would you like it to have an accompanying app? Or is it user friendly if you have any other health issues such as visual impairment or poor mobility in your hand? So if you're still not sure, you can get online to find these out, and that may be helpful. But
I've got a question. Well, I haven't got a question. I know what I'd want mine to do.
go on.
I get to tell the time.
Do they tell the time?
Do they do that? Anyway, I've got something that's quite interesting, and I was thinking about the other day. You're quite active on social media, aren't you, with your Facebook and what other account have you got? TikTok.
TikTok.
TikTok. You know, you're keeping people up to date on your illness on a regular basis. In fact, you did one recently when you had your recent diagnosis of the cancer spreading. What do you think about posting a story on social media? Does it help you? Do you think it help other people?
I suppose it helps me because I'm getting something off my chest, and I'm very lucky that I've got sort of over 3,000 friends on Facebook. But mainly because when I was doing all my music and I was in the Bay City Rollers, so there's a lots of ladies who get on and friend you because you're in the Bay City Roller tribute band, and so I think that's probably why I've got so many. But close friends, you know, it keeps them informed, and I like to just do the recordings to keep people posted because I do get lots of personal messages as well from people who say, "Oh, how are you getting on? I'm thinking of you." And I thought, well, if I do a video, it tells everybody who's looking at Facebook how I'm getting on. And if people do want to follow my story, I'm Martin Weavers on Facebook. So if you want to friend me on that, or I'm the Pallet Man on TikTok. So I put all my videos about that there. So I'm about to make another one because I go in for the chemo again, just to let people know how I was, because I put one on to say about that I'd got the new condition, and then I put one on to say that I'd had the first lot of chemo, and the last message I left was, "Yeah, I feel fine." And then, as I said, I was for a week, but it's always, as I said, I've now found out the middle week is the dodgy week where I might sort of feel ill and all that. But and at the end of the day, I just have to be safe all 3 weeks. I have to be careful so I don't breathe. I went to the doctors for the blood test, and a lady was sitting next to me, and that was all fine. And then she went in to have whatever doctor she went into. And then the bloke saw the seat next to me vacant. And the first thing he did, he sat there and he's coughing his heart up. So I thought, well, I'm not going to sit next to you. So I just got up and walked away. And I used to say, "Excuse me, I've got cancer," and I'm but thinking I'm being rude. And I thought, no, I'm just going to get up and walk away now. So I can't afford the contact with other people like that.
Yeah. Do you feel you get sort of extra support from doing that? Do you think the messages help you then, do you? Is that why you do it, really?
I do, yeah, because it makes you feel good that people are looking out for you. And I mean, God, I had about 200. I mean, obviously out of 3,000, it's not many, but I had about 200 messages on one of the posts that I put up. And TikTok is always getting messages where people are sort of following me. But obviously with media, it comes, the trolls and things like that. The keyboard warriors that we always call them and things like that. And so far, fingers crossed, touch wood, whatever you want to do, I've not had one negative thing said about it, because sometimes people think, "Oh, you're looking for attention." Well, I'm not. I'm not looking for attention. I'm just looking to keep my friends informed of how I am, because lots of them do, as I say, text me even out of the blue, even before everybody really knew. They'd say, "How you getting on? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah." So I can now keep them all informed with my little videos.
Great, that's good for awareness then. People are obviously more aware of cancer and symptoms and things when you post your videos.
Well, I think that doing that and doing what we're doing with this podcast if people listen to what we went through, I mean, you've told your story about your heart attacks, so people can think, "Oh, if I get that pain, I will know." People, when I got my cancer and I was coughing like anything and I was wheezy, that was my first symptoms that I knew of. Little did I realise that I'd had other symptoms before that I'd sort of blanked out, So if people read it and think, "Oh God, that's similar to me," and you think they get checked out early, they might not go to stage 4 like I did straight away. So
Yeah.
I think personally, I do it because I want to give the message to people to, get checked out. Like we mentioned earlier about these watches. You can't just rely on technical things, and everybody knows how their body is, don't they? You wake
Yeah.
up and you think, oh God, I feel tired today. Oh, I've got an ache today. So if you've got them regularly, get them checked out with your doctor.
Yeah. The trouble is, you grow old, you get aches and pains naturally, don't you? And that's difficult to tell. What is serious and what is not.
And I still think I'm about 21, so I shouldn't have these pains, but obviously I'm not, because you can treble that, and that's my age.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's yeah, you people, I can't urge you enough, get it checked out.
So what would the drawbacks be about posting your information on Facebook and TikTok? What drawbacks do you think? Trolls and things like that, or
Well, yeah, trolls, but you can get hacked, of course, because some people hack your accounts and things like that. And but yeah, I mean, because I think you only need one negative post on a post that you put up, and you think of that one post. Oh, you're trying to get attention. Get yourself a life. Or I don't know what they're going to write. So far, touch wood, they haven't done it. But you tend to remember that one negative one rather than the 200 odd lovely ones. And it's just how your mind works. And I think I'm not alone in thinking like that. I think a lot of people would do that. When we used to get, reviews for the band and all that, I would always be anxious. Hopefully, if they see it and they don't like it, they scroll past. That's that's what you hope. But you can't stop some people. They do have to get on their keyboard because they can't be found. That's the thing. I mean, I know you can trace them whether the area where they live on Facebook and etc. But sometimes they blank that out, so you don't. So. And you won't stop it. You'll never stop it. There'll always be someone negative doing something. So
the trouble with texting these days is you can text a message to someone in answer to a response or something, and they can take it a different way to the way you proposed it. So
yeah,
and the trouble with social media, it's all words and music on. There's no emotions with any of it, so you don't really know how it's meant.
that's why if you notice, I send you more voice messages than I do texts. And that's why I've liked, because you can tell in the expression of your voice. The other day I got a text from somebody and it had an orange angry face on it.
All right.
And so I just sent a text back saying, "Oh, excuse me." I said, "You put an orange angry face." I said, "Any reason why?" And they rang me up and said, "I'm really, really sorry. I must have pressed the wrong button. I really didn't mean to do it." So accidents like that can, cause you to think, God, what's he so angry about? When the text I sent to him was quite, ordinary, really, nothing to even get angry about. And I thought, that's strange. So, but at least he had the decency, to call me, because I think, like you said, if it had texted me, it may not have come over the right way. Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. And you read it in different ways. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, all different ways of reading it, isn't there?
Yeah.
So where he told me, to himself, "Oh, I don't know what made me do that, mate." He said, "I must have fat fingers," he reckoned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if he hadn't have made contact, you'd have been thinking about that all day.
I know. And this is how your mind works. Well, we've talked about our minds in the past, haven't we? And
Well, Ian Trushell, who's suffering with stage 4 bowel cancer, he's had some trolling on his social media, and let's have a listen to what he says.
Okay, I'm on several Facebook bowel cancer groups. One of them's quite popular more than the rest. I've seen a deluge of memes recently, bullshit memes saying, "Don't give up, keep fighting, you're stronger than you think," etc., etc., etc. And it's usually a picture of a fictitious quote, made up quote, next to Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders, or Tom Hardy, that's the other one, looking all gruff. They've never said it. It's just bullshit memes, just made up by someone to make themselves feel better. Never quit on all this crap. And I just find it so insulting. I really do. They're condescending, they're patronising. They don't know my journey. They don't know how other people's journey, they're going through cancer. When am I allowed to quit? When I'm laid in a hospice, hours away from death, dosed up on painkillers to take the pain away. Is that okay? Do I get a pass on that one? Can I quit then? Is that okay? What about the people that have run out of chemo options? I'm seeing my oncologist on Friday, potentially for fourth line. In all reality, it's not going to work. I know that. Do I get a pass then for focusing on quality of life over quantity? Is that okay? Do I get a pass from your bullshit made up self-righteous meme? And it can only be worsened by religious memes saying God sends his warriors the hardest battles, his strongest warriors the hardest battles. That. There's nothing more insulting than pouring religion over someone's suffering and trying to somehow sugarcoat it, trying to somehow make it positive. That's what all these memes are. So those of you that post these memes, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're posting. Think about how insulting it is to other cancer sufferers. I take it by you posting that meme, your cancer journey is going fine and dandy and your chemo is working. For many, many, many others, it doesn't work. People die because they run out of treatment options. So when they read those supercilious, condescending memes that you pat yourself on the back on when you post it on Facebook or wherever, it makes you feel good about yourself. But trust me, it doesn't make other cancer sufferers feel good about themselves when their bloody chemo isn't working. That's all I want to say on it. And I'm going to get grief for that, but I just wanted to get off my chest.
Well, that's pretty awful stuff, really, isn't it?
It is. I just can't believe that someone's suffering like he is, and people can do this. I'd hate to say, oh, they deserve it themselves, because I don't wish this upon anybody. But they need to, get a life and think before they put these things on the message, because it hurts him. You could tell how much, in that
you could hear it in his voice, couldn't you? Exactly.
How much it hurts him.
How emotional he was over those single messages. He's had hundreds and thousands of messages of support, but just a few messages, trolling messages, plays on his mind, and it's not good. Not good. Anyway, Martin, that's dreaded time. I know you've warned me about today's joke of the week, so I am prepared. I've strapped myself in.
I've got a little poem I could read, or I could tell a joke. I think I'll tell a joke and I'll keep the poem for next time. Okay, so
it's time for Martin's joke of the week.
Okay, folks. So, what's the difference between a kangaroo and a kangaroot?
A kangaroo and a kangaroot.
One is an Australian marsupial. The other is a Geordie stuck in a lift.
That point.
I know you shouldn't explain jokes, but for people in America, they're going to think, "Don't get that." It's the accent of a Geordie in England, and he says a kangaroo.
That sounds like a Scottish accent. Anyway,
well, they're near Scotland.
Just for the director's cut, can we have the poem?
I'm going to save the poem for next time.
No, come on, get the poem out.
All right, okay. So, smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed it around the corner and someone saw me grin. When he smiled, I realised I'd passed it on to him. I thought about that smile, then realised its worth. A single smile is just like mine. It could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected. That was from Spike Milligan.
Well done, Martin. You brought a little bit of culture to the podcast today with that little poetry from Spike Milligan. You're a poet and you don't even know it. But it's got to that time of the day where we've got to say goodbye.
Yes, it's been lovely chatting with you again. And if you would like to come on the podcast and talk about anything that you've been ill with, please contact us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, there is a tab that you can click on our website at www.whostomandick.com, and it's a guest request form to fill in. So if you think you've got something you can add, then please fill that in and send it off to us. Well, it's been lovely talking to you this morning in this lovely kitchen of yours, Martin, on this
Yes, that's right.
October
In my
day.
lovely 1950s kitchen. So,
Well, take care, and I'll see you same place, same time next week.
yeah, we'll see everybody, hopefully.
Yeah.
Same time, same place.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Oh, we said that in stereo.
In stereo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
See you, everyone.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.